Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. In today's What's for Dinner video, I'll be sharing with you what meals we had this past week. Our dinners were easy to make, budget friendly, and delicious. So if you're looking for some weeknight meal ideas for your family, just keep watching. For dinner this first night, I had some of the banquet chicken patties in my freezer that I needed to use up, so I decided to do an easy chicken parmesan. So here's the bag of chicken breast patties that I mentioned that I'm going to use. Really, you can use any kind of frozen chicken patties. The Aldi red bag chicken is really good in this, and Aldi has like Parmesan crusted frozen chicken that I think would be good in this as well. So all I'm going to do is bake these in the oven according to the package instructions. For my side dish, I'm making roasted broccoli with cherry tomatoes. This recipe is from Food Network Down Home with the Neelys. I'll have it linked down below. So to the sheet pan, I'm going to add some broccoli florets and then my cherry or grape tomatoes, whichever you've got on hand. I'm going to add a little bit of oil, and then we are going to season this up with some salt, pepper, some minced garlic, and then crushed red pepper flakes. And you can just do the crushed red pepper flakes according to your taste. And the recipe does call for a shallot. I didn't have any on hand and I didn't feel like chopping up an onion, but it was still yummy. You could add a little bit of onion powder if you wanted to, but it's still plenty flavorful. I'm going to give that a really good mix, and then this is going to go into the oven. I believe the recipe says to cook it at 450 degrees. I think on this day I had the oven set to 425 for the chicken patties, so just cooked it a couple extra minutes. But you just want to roast these for about 15 to 20 minutes until the broccoli is nice and tender and they start to get brown around the edges. Once the chicken patties were done, I just gave them a little flip just so the tops could get a little more brown. And then I'm going to add my sauce. Now, normally I would do some type of marinara or pasta sauce, but today I have this just squeezed pizza sauce on hand. It's close enough, so I'm going to use that. It was delicious. Just use whatever you prefer. You could also do some homemade sauce, but tonight we are going for quick and easy. I'm going to spread that sauce out and then add some shredded mozzarella cheese. And then in this next little baggie, I have some freshly grated Parmesan cheese. And so I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of that and then pop this back into the oven just for a couple minutes until the cheese is melted and starts to get golden brown. Once the broccoli and tomatoes are done, we're going to sprinkle some of that same freshly grated Parmesan cheese on top, and then that's it. That's ready to go. Like I said, this is a really yummy little side dish, so I recommend you give it a try. Here is that finished chicken Parmesan, and then here are the plates. So I just happened to have some fresh basil. I added some of that, and then we've got the broccoli and tomatoes, and this was a super delicious and really, really quick and easy dinner. I had a roll of turkey breakfast sausage in my freezer that needed to be used up, and I had some biscuit mix in my pantry that I needed to use. So I decided to do biscuits and gravy. Here is the biscuit mix that I'm going to use. Now, I find this at Food Lion near me. You can check other grocery stores. You can also get this off of Amazon. I highly recommend this biscuit mix. I first saw this on Tammy from Collard Valley Cooks, and she swore by this, and I was like, hey, if this woman swears by, because she can make some good looking biscuits, and I was like, if she swears by this, I got to give it a try, and it is delicious. So like I said, if you can find this mix, I definitely recommend you give it a try. All I'm going to do is follow the instructions on the back of the package, which is basically to take this mix, and it already has shortening flakes in it. You add in some buttermilk, give it a mix, and then roll it out on your counter, just like you would do with biscuits, and cut your biscuits, put them into a greased baking dish. And then I'm going to bake them in the oven again according to the package instructions. Now I'm going to get started on my sausage gravy. Now, I don't use a recipe for this. I just eyeball it, but I'm going to start out by browning up that sausage. Like I mentioned, I'm using turkey sausage. You can use regular pork sausage. You can also use hot sausage if you'd prefer to do that. I'm going to break that up with a spoon and then cook that until it's nice and brown. Now, once it's there, you may need to add a little bit of fat. You may need to take out a little bit of fat, just depending on the sausage you're using. Because I'm using turkey sausage, I really had no fat in the pan. So I'm going to add in a couple tablespoons of butter. And then once that butter is melted, I'm going to add in the flour. Now, like I said, I don't measure. All I do is add enough flour to where I can't see any more fat in the pan, if that makes sense. The flour will be like moistened with the fat. I'm going to cook that for a couple minutes to get that flour taste out, and then I'm going to whisk in some milk. And then that's pretty much it. Now, I like to season this to taste with some salt and quite a bit of black pepper. You can add different seasonings if you prefer. Instead of milk, if you want to use cream or half and half, you can totally do that. Just make it your own. And if you don't have any sausage, you can just add some fat to the pan. You can use bacon grease, just oil or butter, large shortening, and then once it's melted, add in your flour and, kind of go from there. But as it comes to a simmer, it will thicken up for you, and, just give it a taste it, or adjust the seasonings rather to your taste. And if it's a little thick, add in a little bit more milk, and as it sits, it will thicken up a little bit. And here are those biscuits. Just brush the tops with a little bit of butter. And then here are the plates. So we've got some of the biscuits, the gravy, and I whipped up some scrambled eggs real quick. I just cracked the eggs in a bowl, added a splash of milk, some Tony Chachere's salt and pepper, gave it a good whisk, and then cooked it in a skillet over about medium heat until they were done to our liking. And this was an easy and delicious, super comforting dinner. Dinner the next night was off of meal plan. I just didn't feel like cooking what was on the meal plan for that day. So I dug around in my fridge to see what I could come up with. I had some chicken deli meat, so I decided to do chicken bacon ranch sandwiches. So here's what I'm going to use. I have some sliced sourdough bread. I just got this from Aldi. I've got the pre-cooked bacon, some sliced cheddar cheese, that chicken deli meat I mentioned, had some fresh spinach, and then some semi-homemade ranch dressing. This is just the Hidden Valley dry ranch dressing mix combined with mayonnaise and milk. And then I've got some spreadable butter for the bread, and I'm going to slice up this tomato. To assemble the sandwiches, I just buttered the outside pieces of the bread, and then on the inside, I spread them with some of the ranch dressing, added the cheese, and then the other fillings, and then I'm going to grill these up over medium heat in this little griddler pan, and here is the finished sandwich. Look how melty that cheese is. Here are the finished plates, so to keep it really simple, I just sliced up a fresh apple for us, and then we had some of the Dots pretzels with the sandwiches, and this was such a delicious dinner. That sandwich was so, so good. For dinner the next night, we did some grilled sausages, and I also cooked up a hamburger for Gary. I'm going to start out by trying a new recipe for macaroni salad. I'll have it linked down below. We really enjoyed this. Out of all the macaroni salads I've ever made, I actually think I liked this one the best. I can't wait to make it again. It was delicious. So to this bowl, I'm going to add in the mayonnaise. Next, I'm going to add in some buttermilk. If you don't have buttermilk, you can kind of make your own by adding some lemon juice or vinegar to milk and then letting it sit out on the counter for a few minutes before adding it in. Next, we're going to add in the sugar and the apple cider vinegar. Then I'm adding garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and pepper. The recipe calls for celery salt, but if you've been with me for a while, you know celery and I do not get along, so I skipped it and just used regular salt. I'm going to stir that until it's combined really well, and then give it a taste. Adjust to your taste. You can add a little more sugar, a little more vinegar, more seasonings. Once it's to where I want it to be, I'm going to add in my pasta. Just cooked up some elbow macaroni in some salted water, drained it, rinsed it with cold water, and drained it really well. Now I'm ready to add in my vegetables. I'm adding in some chopped up not celery. I just said I don't like celery. This is cucumber. Then some Roma tomatoes and orange and yellow mini bell peppers. The recipe didn't call for any carrots, but I had some shredded on hand, so I'm going to toss those in. And like I always say, make this your own. Use whatever vegetables you like. Once I've added the veggies, I'm going to add in some shredded cheddar cheese and then stir this until it's really well combined. Now you could eat this right away, but I would suggest putting this into the fridge for a couple hours and allowing it to chill and have all the flavors come together. And here's that finished pasta salad. And like I said, we really enjoyed this. I think this would be my go-to macaroni salad from now on. It was really good. And you could add like crumbled bacon to this. I think diced ham would be good. Maybe some hard-boiled egg. It was just delicious. Now for the sausages, I'm going to cook these up. I got them at Sam's Club. I'll pop up a picture here. These are the honey habanero, Monterey, and Jack cheese chicken sausages. And they were really good, but they did have a kick to them. So I'm just going to split them and then grill them up. I also decided to grill a couple hamburgers. Gary had been wanting a grilled hamburger, and I had 2 frozen hamburger patties in my freezer. They're just the ones from Kroger. So again, just grilled them, added some sliced American cheese. Last but not least, I have this package of Six Bean Casserole in my freezer that really needed to be used up. So I just placed it into a greased baking dish and popped it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 15 minutes to allow it to warm up. I've shared this recipe before on my channel. I'll link that video down in the description box below for you. Here are the plates. So we've got the macaroni salad, the bean casserole. I just did the sausage without any bread or toppings. And then for Gary, I did the sausage with some ketchup, mustard, and relish. And his cheeseburger has some ketchup, mustard, pickles, lettuce, and tomato. And this was such a yummy dinner. We really love getting like pulled pork, loaded baked potatoes at barbecue restaurants. And when I saw this recipe, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to give this a try. And we love this. Gary actually asked me to add it to our regular rotation. So if you like barbecue loaded baked potatoes, I highly recommend you give this recipe a try. Basically the same things, just in a casserole form. So to get started, I'm using a bag of these little baby red potatoes. I halved the recipe, by the way, and again, I'll have it linked down below. I boiled the potatoes in some salted water until they were fork tender and drained them. And this is the same pot that I cooked them in, by the way. I know it looks kind of yucky, but it's just from where I cooked the potatoes. To this same pot, I'm going to add in the butter and cream cheese that has been softened. I'm using whipped cream cheese, and the heat is off. There's enough residual heat from the pan that everything kind of melted together, but if you want to have this on low heat, you totally can. I'm going to add in the drained potatoes, and then you just mash these up, and we're going to add yumminess to the potatoes. So the recipe didn't call for sour cream, but I wanted to add some in, and I wanted to use up this little squeeze container as well. Next, we're going to add in some cooked and crumbled bacon. You could, of course, cook and crumble your own. I'm just using some bacon pieces. And then I'm going to season this to taste with some salt and pepper. Then some shredded cheddar cheese. And I'm going to stir that until it's combined and allow the cheese and the cream cheese to melt. I'm finally going to add in some chopped green onions and give that one last stir. Give this a taste and adjust the seasonings to your taste, and then we're going to set this to the side. Now, the recipe calls for you to use like pulled pork like this package here that I'm using. I got this at Publix, I think, several months back, and it had been in my freezer. This is a great way to use up leftover pulled pork. You could also use like leftover pulled barbecue chicken. That would be good in this. But I'm just going to cook this tub according to the package instructions. This particular tub didn't come with barbecue sauce, so I'm going to add some Sweet Baby Ray's. You could use your favorite barbecue sauce, of course. I think I forgot to mention this, but my oven has been preheating to 400 degrees. I have a 9x9 casserole dish. Like I said, I have the recipe. I sprayed it really well with some cooking spray. I'm going to add the loaded mashed potato mixture and spread that out. Once I've done that, I'm going to take my barbecue pork and add that on top of the potatoes and spread that out to cover the potatoes. Finally, I'm going to add some of that shredded cheddar cheese on top, and then that's it. Super, super easy. This is going to go into the preheated oven. Now, the recipe said you just have to bake this for about 5 minutes. I think I ended up baking it for like 10 or 12 minutes. Once it comes out of the oven, this is what it looks like, and I would suggest allowing it to sit for just a couple minutes before you serve it up. To serve it up, here are the finished plates. So we've got the casserole. I added some sour cream to my husband's casserole and then garnished it with some more green onions and then just did some side salads. And like I said, we really enjoyed this casserole. It was just like getting a loaded barbecue baked potato out at a barbecue restaurant, except it was super easy to put together, and best of all, the potato was already mixed up for you. So you didn't have to worry about like mixing up your butter and sour cream and cheese and everything. It was already done for you, and it had such great flavor. For dinner the next night, I tried a new recipe for jerk chicken and mango salsa. Now, I've never made jerk chicken before. I've never had jerk chicken before. So I cannot speak to the authenticity of this, but I can say it was delicious. So we're going to start out by making the marinade for the chicken. I've got this little mini food processor I'm going to make the marinade in. I got this years and years ago. I think it was like a Black Friday special for like 10 bucks at Walmart. You could use a blender if you'd prefer to do that. So to this, I'm going to add in the soy sauce, the fresh lime juice. Next, the olive oil and brown sugar. Here I've got some green onions that I cut the roots off and then chop them into thirds. Next, the pepper. I believe with jerk chicken, it's usually Scotch bonnet pepper that you use, but with me never having it before, I was kind of nervous to try it, and this particular recipe called for jalapeno pepper instead. So I think depending on your spice, preference, you could use either or. I went ahead and just kept the seeds in and just chopped up the jalapeno pepper. Once I've added the pepper, I'm going to add in all of the seasonings. So we're going to add in some minced garlic, some minced ginger, the dried thyme, allspice, ground black pepper, cinnamon, and nutmeg. Once I've got everything in, I'm just going to pulse that until it is combined, and it'll be, I don't know how to explain this, but a thicker mixture. It'll have a little bit of like meatiness to it, not like super thin like a vinaigrette or olive oil would be, if that makes any sense. So once it's there, I am going to add it to a Ziploc bag along with some boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and then that's it. This is going to go into the fridge to marinate it. I think the recipe says to marinate it for an hour if you can, up to 4 hours, and I believe I did right at about 4 hours. I had every intention on grilling this on my outdoor grill, but it was cold and rainy and stormy this day, so I just decided to use my Cuisinart griddler. I love this thing. I've mentioned it before on my channel. I've got an Amazon link down in the description box below if you want to check it out, but I just sprayed the grates with a little bit of cooking spray and then grilled the chicken for about 6 minutes until it was at least 165 degrees internal temperature, and I am allow it to rest for about 5 minutes before I slice into it. For one of the sides, I did like some Caribbean style black beans. I believe I've shared this before on my channel. I will link the recipe in the description box below. I didn't follow it exactly this time, just loosely, but what I did was I sauteed some onions and bell pepper in a saucepan. Once they were tender, I added in a can of black beans. I did not rinse or drain them. I added some chicken stock, salt, pepper, minced garlic, smoked paprika, and cumin, and then I just simmered those while the chicken was cooking and while my rice was cooking, and I finished them with just a little bit of fresh lime juice. I also made some coconut rice. I've shared this before on my channel. I'll link that down in the description box below for you. Now, I just put together a quick mango salsa. I lost the footage of me actually making the salsa. I apologize, I deleted it, but it's really easy. Here's what I use. I've got a fresh ripe mango, some lime juice, jalapeno pepper, a little mini red bell pepper, some salt, pepper, and olive oil, and I just chopped everything up, combined it in a bowl, and seasoned it to taste with the salt and pepper and lime juice. Here's a picture of my plate. This was the gym night for Gary, so he ate later. Got the sliced up jerk chicken with the mango salsa, the black beans, coconut rice, and a lime wedge. I drizzled over the salsa and chicken, and like I said, not sure how authentic this was, but it was so yummy. The coconut rice with the chicken and mango salsa, that was like the perfect bite, and then those black beans were really yummy. For the last dinner in this week's video, I had some of the CPAC coconut shrimp in my freezer. I got these a couple months ago when they were on sale at Publix, so I decided to do like a copycat Red Lobster night. I have shared this before on my channel, but I'm going to walk you through the copycat Red Lobster pina colada sauce that they serve with their coconut shrimp. It's really easy to put together. You could, of course, just use the like orange marmalade sauce that comes in the box, but this is really easy. To a saucepan, I'm adding in my water and then the pina colada mix. And if you've never used the pina colada mix before, it doesn't have any alcohol in it. It's just like what you would add with alcohol to make a pina colada. Next, I'm going to add in the crushed pineapple as well as the powdered sugar. I'm going to whisk that together and then turn my heat to about medium high and bring this to a simmer. Once it's at a simmer, you're going to simmer this for about 10 minutes and you'll see that it will kind of start to thicken up, but it's still a little bit loose. So to fix that, we're going to add in a cornstarch slurry, which is just cornstarch with cold water. So I'm going to whisk that in, and again, this is just over medium heat, and after a couple minutes, you'll see it will start to thicken. We're going to simmer this for another 3 to 5 minutes until it's thick and looks like this. Once it's there, we're going to turn the heat off and set this to the side and allow it to cool to room temperature. While that's cooling, I'm going to make the copycat Cheddar Bay biscuits. If you've never had these from Red Lobster before, you've got to give them a try. They are delicious. I've shared them before on my channel, but it's been a while, so I wanted to walk through it again real quick. The oven's preheating to 400 degrees. In this bowl, I'm adding in some Bisquick, then the shredded cheddar cheese, and I like to add in just a little bit of garlic powder to the biscuits themselves just to give it a little bit of flavor. I'm going to add in the milk and then stir that until it's combined. You don't want to over mix this. It is a biscuit mixture, of course, so if you do, your biscuits will be tough. Just mix it until it's just combined. I'm going to scoop this out onto a greased cookie sheet. These are going to go into the preheated oven and bake for about 8 to 12 minutes. It really just depends on how big you scoop your biscuits out. So here's what they look like when they were done. And we're going to add some garlic butter to them. So in this little dish here, I have some melted butter, a little bit of salt because I used unsalted butter, some parsley flakes, and garlic powder. And I just brush those on top of the biscuits. Here's the coconut shrimp I mentioned that I am going to use. I decided to cook these in the air fryer. Cooked it at 400 degrees for about 3 or 4 minutes. Gave it a flip. Cooked it for another 3 or 4 minutes until they were golden brown. For the other side, I had a package of this bird's eye sauced cheesy broccoli, cauliflower, and carrots package. This was in my freezer. Really needed to use it up, so I just cooked it according to the package instructions, added it to a bowl, and seasoned it with a little bit of salt and pepper. Here are the plates. So we've got a biscuit, some of the cheesy vegetables, the coconut shrimp, and the pina colada sauce. And this was yummy and felt like we were at Red Lobster. All right, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video and that it gave you some dinner inspiration. If it did, hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And if you do give any of these recipes or ideas a try, let me know what you think. All right, again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.